The Western Cape province of the ANC has confirmed it won't be holding its elective conference this year. It will only hold its conference next year. That's because not enough of its branches were able to hold their branch general meetings to select their delegates for a provincial conference. But the Western Cape ANC sometimes, just sometimes, comes to the crux of what the African National Congress calls the national question. They're talking specifically about race, about the ANC's stated policy of non-racialism, and about diversity within the ANC itself. Faiez Jacobs is a former provincial secretary of the ANC in the Western Cape, currently a member of Parliament for the African National Congress. Mr. Jacobs, good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time. When you look at issues around the ANC at the moment, one of the issues is around diversity, both in its membership and in its leadership. It's about non-racialism, it's about the national question. When you look at the ANC at the moment, where do you think the ANC is on what it calls the national question?
Thank you, Stephen, and greetings to everybody. Yes, I think we still strive for a non-racial, non-sexist South Africa. That's because we come from a very divided, fractured apartheid past. And so all South Africans should see themselves not only in the African National Congress, but also see themselves as the broader politics. So we had in the Western Cape, when we were in governing, we had a slogan, a home for all, a taste for Sama. Kapa Ileslo Mayo, which basically created a space and a place for all of us. We need to see ourselves. It is unfortunate that there has been a bit of ethnic and tribal mobilization. But I think what we are pushing for quite hard is the ANC returning back to its non-racial character, non-racial, non-sexist character, so that we look at meritocracy, we look at people that have experience, but more importantly, I think here in the Western Cape we know there's a national minority, but in our region there's a regional majority. And so we are saying that for the ANC to be truly responsive, listening, it needs to have leaders and representation across. In our province, we have made good progress in getting all our branches ready for conference. We needed 284 branches to meet the 70% threshold. We're almost there. We're at 267. So there's work in progress, and I think that's where we're at with the non-racial and the national question.
The former Western Cape Premier Ibrahim Rasool once said, if I remember him correctly, and I won't be quoting him 100% accurately, but he felt that one of the biggest dynamics, this was before the pandemic, in the previous decade in South Africa, had been a decline in social cohesion. He's talking about people who are South African living lives that were becoming more separate from each other. Do you think that's true? Is that what we're sort of talking about here?
I think there's a lot of ethnic mobilization, especially here in the Western Cape. People are mobilized based on race identity. So whites and blacks and coloreds are separated. There's the fear, there's the divide and rule, there's the othering. So it is true. The rainbow nation that Mandela and we all must work with, where we as South Africans see ourselves first as South Africans, and the othering and the divide should stop. So the nation building and the social cohesion project must continue. It must start in the ANC. The ANC must recognize all its people. The ANC must see the diversity and celebrate the diversity. There's many cadres of Indian, colored, white descent that have strong history and struggle. I mean, we come from that non-racial, non-sexist, intergenerational character. I was young when I experienced a better ANC. And so it's important that the ANC create that space. And South Africans must see a better ANC. And I think for me, the non-racial, the nation-building project, the social cohesion is still a very important project, because it's only the African National Congress that can unite, because all the other parties can unite, divide people based on race and class. So we need a broad church, the broad church that the ANC has always stand for, that we see ourselves. We might be different. We might be Christian, Muslim, colored, African, Indian, and we might have many identities. But our primary identity is our nation, our South African identity, our love for our constitution, and our willingness to work for all our people.
It's interesting because I think something similar, and I mean, to talk about race is always difficult because everyone will have a different understanding and a different view, correctly. But in KwaZulu-Natal, something similar may have happened. There was a little bit of discussion in certain circles, I think, after the KwaZulu-Natal PEC, Provincial Executive Committee, was elected earlier this year. Now, if I remember correctly, there were in fact no people who identify as Indian on that PEC, and I don't think that had happened before since democracy. I mean, that points to what you're talking about, doesn't it? This sort of failure of diversity in the leadership of a province in the ANC.
Look, I think the ANC is not at the point where it's looking at a quota system like we have a gender quota. But I would certainly argue that the ANC must make a deliberate, a very systematic attempt to include everybody. I think more must be done to see all our compatriots, whether whites, whether colored, whether Indians, of all races and all groups and all areas. You need to see yourself expressed in the ANC and the leadership that we have. So I do acknowledge that in our days when people were self-serving, focusing just on ourselves, people didn't look at all the variable factors. I'm not advocating for a quota system or based on race, but I am advocating that people must be seen, people must be acknowledged, comrades within the movement that has long years of history experience. And in KZN in particular, there is a big Indian community that has a strong history of non-racialism, of fighting for our struggle. And I think we need to reach, especially our current leadership, we need to make more effort to get everybody, even Afrikaners. They must see themselves as having a home in the African National Congress, because we were that broad organization that accommodated all of us. We must see that diversity and unity in diversity.
I think, Faiez, I think that it would be very hard to argue against you. I wonder if the ANC is actually, and this issue around social cohesion is around very difficult dynamics, because we see in our politics at the moment a move more towards identity politics than at any time since 1994. And I think you can see that with the rise of the Freedom Front Plus. I think you can see that to an extent with the increase in support for the Inkatha Freedom Party. You could argue the Patriotic Alliance maybe as a function of that. There is one party that I would suggest goes against all of that, which is Action SA. It seems to draw people both who used to vote for the ANC and people who used to vote for the DA. So that goes against that. But there's also an international context to this. People like Donald Trump have been campaigning on a specifically white, sort of ethnic, English, Anglo kind of identity, and they found that it works for them. So is it actually very difficult? I mean, I think morally you must be correct. This is what the ANC should do morally. But in the real world, it's actually very difficult to go against this dynamic at the moment.
You're so right. I mean, if you look at across the world, the them and us, you see it in America where the reds and the blues are very separated, and there's intolerance and lack of understanding. I think politically in our belief system must be able to reconcile, unite us. I mean, Tutu spoke about it, all our big leaders spoke about the Rainbow Nation, Mandela spoke about it. And so when they die, that ideal of bringing people together as opposed to keeping us separate. You know, it's easy for me to go into my tribe, my lager, and say, okay, I'm a Muslim, so therefore I can't associate with colors, or I'm a color, therefore I can't associate. And the othering is not helpful, because what it does, it creates the stereotypes that we fought for against. It creates the divisions, the suspicions, it creates all the negativity. And that conservative right-wing element is creeping in our politic. And because the ANC has almost haven't been focused on this, we have allowed our politics to be called identity politics. I think what we need to be moving towards is issue-based politics. Politics based on the problems of our people. Politics based on the service delivery, on the poverty, on the jobs, and on the economy. Because this is superficial divisions. The divisions based on race and ethnicity and my tribe and my group and Afrikaner and Afrikaaps and colored, all of these things are constructs, are social constructs. We can embrace all of those social constructs, but I still am a South African. I am an African. I only know Africa. And so my loyalty is to this country. And so I'm reaching out to my brothers and my sisters across the African diaspora and also on the Cape Flats. Here in Cape Town, you have a tale of two Cape Townians. A Cape Townian who's black, which is colored, they are languished. The state is failing them based on gangsterism and violence. And then you have a Cape Townian, which is largely white, which is largely privileged, which is enjoying European standards. So the race and identity politics is failing us to deal with the real issues. And I'm advocating within the ANC and in society, let's move away from personality politics. Let's move away from identity politics. Let's deal with the real issues. The real issues is the economy. The real issues is market concentration. The real issue is big bullying from big companies and the banks not making money affordable for our people. And government is slow and unresponsive to deal with the issues. So those are the real issues. Let's focus on the real issues.
Faiez Jacobs, thank you. Former Provincial Secretary for the ANC in the Western Cape, currently Member of Parliament for the ANC.